Welcome to Zoe Stories. Forced to become a girl to help solve their mystery. My name is Elliot, and I'm 22 years old, a guy who has always preferred things neat and simple. I've never been one for drama or complications. Life was supposed to be about solving problems, not becoming one. But that's exactly what happened the day I received a call from my old friends, Jasper, Mia, and Noah. They were working on something huge, something that didn't make sense at first but would ultimately pull me into a web of lies, secrets, and danger. The disappearances in our small town had been a mystery for months. No one had any real leads, and the local authorities seemed to be dragging their feet. But my friends, being the restless bunch they are, decided to take matters into their own hands. They had a plan, but it wasn't just about finding answers. They needed someone to go undercover and infiltrate the community where they believed the truth was hiding. And that's where I came in. "You're the only one who can pull this off," Mia said, her voice serious, almost too serious for something that sounded like a joke at first. "We need someone who can blend in, someone who won't raise any suspicions." I didn't get it. What could they possibly need me for? But the answer came fast. They needed a woman. They needed me to pretend to be someone else, someone entirely foreign to who I was. And the stakes? If I didn't do this, the case would remain unsolved, and more people could vanish without a trace. I was terrified, but there was no turning back. This wasn't just a case anymore, it was personal. The moment Mia finished explaining, I felt my breath catch in my throat. Become a girl? The words seemed to echo in my mind, distorting, growing heavier with each repetition. My first instinct was to laugh, to call it a ridiculous idea. There was no way I could do something like that. I wasn't exactly the most convincing person, in any sense of the word. I'd always been awkward, never the type to stand out. And now they wanted me to pull off a full-blown transformation? I looked at Jasper, his face a mix of concern and encouragement, his usual easy smile replaced by a more serious expression. Mia was practically pleading, her eyes wide with a combination of desperation and trust. "We've tried everything else. No one's taking us seriously except for you. You're the only one who can get in there without raising suspicion." I felt a knot tighten in my chest. They were right, of course. The only reason I was still involved in this mess was because I'd always been the quiet observer, blending into the background unnoticed. I wasn't exactly a standout guy, and maybe that was exactly what they needed. But this? Becoming someone I wasn't, someone I could barely even imagine? That was a different story. A million thoughts raced through my head. What if I failed? What if I was caught? Worse, what if I started to enjoy this? The idea of living as someone else for days, weeks, maybe longer. I'd have to change everything. The way I looked, the way I acted. I'd have to be someone other than me. I remembered the stakes. People were disappearing. This wasn't a joke. If I didn't take this seriously, the people I cared about could be next. The fear of losing my friends, of failing them, gnawed at me, worse than the fear of what I might have to become. I glanced at Mia and Noah again, their faces now full of silent hope, and realized this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about saving lives. I could feel the weight of it all crashing down. But one thing was clear. If I didn't do this, I'd never forgive myself. The fear still clung to me, but there was something else, something raw and desperate. A flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could pull this off.
I didn't sleep much that night.
The dark shadows of the room felt suffocating, like they were closing in on me with each passing second. I couldn't stop thinking about Mia's words. The challenge wasn't just a matter of playing a part. It was about becoming someone else entirely. I had no idea how I was going to pull this off. How could I, someone who was so used to being invisible, suddenly step into a role that demanded confidence, grace, and a new identity? The following morning, I sat in the corner of my small apartment, staring at the floor as the weight of it all settled deeper into my bones. I couldn't escape the sense of overwhelming pressure. The disappearance of people, the pressure from Mia and Noah, the entire situation, it all felt too big, too dangerous, and I was in way over my head. I knew I had to make a decision soon. But before I did, I needed to talk to someone. Someone who might understand my fears, my doubts, even if they didn't have the answers. I picked up my phone and dialed the one person who I knew would listen, Zoe. We'd been friends for years, and though she wasn't part of this mess, she was one of the few people I trusted to give me an honest opinion. "What's going on?" she asked as soon as she picked up. Her voice was warm, but there was a noticeable edge of concern, like she knew I wasn't calling for small talk. I explained the situation to her, not sparing any detail. As I spoke, I felt the weight of my own voice, how absurd it sounded to me, even as I tried to explain it to someone else. "I don't know what to do, Zoe," I admitted, the words coming out raw, unfiltered. "I'm not cut out for this. Pretending to be someone I'm not. Becoming someone I'm not." There was a long pause on the other end, and then Zoe spoke, her voice steady but soft. "I don't know if I have a solution for you, but I know one thing. You're the only one who can do this, and maybe that's why they came to you. This isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about survival. It's about finding out what you're really capable of and how far you'll go to save the people you love." Her words stung and soothed at the same time. The idea of becoming someone else terrified me, but I knew she was right. This wasn't a game. It was real, and people's lives were at stake. The decision weighed on me, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had no choice. I couldn't sit back while others risked everything. This wasn't about just me. I had to face the unknown. But as I prepared to make my decision, a new fear crept in. What if I didn't want to go back to who I was before? What if this new identity, this new version of me, felt more real than anything I'd ever known? The thought gnawed at me, deep inside, as I headed to meet Mia and Noah. It was too late to back out now, but I still felt that growing uncertainty, that lingering fear. When I arrived, they were waiting for me, and before I could even speak, Mia asked, her voice trembling, "Are you in?" I hesitated. The world seemed to pause around me. I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, the intensity of the moment. I swallowed hard, and then nodded, barely able to keep my voice steady. "I'm in." But as I said it, a shiver ran down my spine, because deep inside, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't sure if I was ready for what would come next. The room felt smaller as I stood there, Mia and Noah watching me with intense eyes, waiting for my answer. The weight of the decision was crushing. My thoughts were a whirlwind, each possibility flashing before me like a rapid-fire movie reel. What if I failed? What if I couldn't pull it off? And worse, what if I did pull it off, and it changed me in ways I couldn't predict? A sharp pain cut through my chest as I imagined the consequences. I could refuse. I could walk away, pretend like I hadn't heard anything, and go back to my quiet, predictable life. But if I did, the people I cared about would continue to suffer. Mia's face was etched with desperation, her trust in me hanging by a thread. I wasn't sure if I could live with that guilt, knowing I was capable of doing something and choosing not to. But then, there was the fear of losing myself in this new role, of losing who I was and becoming someone entirely different. I wasn't sure I could handle that. Would I even recognize myself at the end of it all? Would I lose everything I'd worked for, everything that had kept me grounded? The room felt like it was closing in. The air grew thick with tension, the silence hanging heavy. Finally, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My heart raced, but there was a strange clarity in my mind. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't ready for it, but whoever is. "I'm in," I said, my voice shaky but firm. And with that, my world shifted. There was no turning back now. The first step in the transformation felt almost surreal, like I was floating in a dream. The cool, sterile air of the room pressed against my skin, mingling with the tension in my chest. Mia's voice broke through my thoughts, soft yet firm. "Don't worry. We'll take it step by step. Just trust us." Her hands moved with practiced ease, gathering everything she needed: makeup, clothing, a wig. My reflection in the mirror seemed foreign to me already, my own face betraying the confusion and fear swirling in my mind. "Ready?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, though I couldn't shake the unease gnawing at my stomach. The first touch of the makeup brush against my face was like a jolt of electricity. My skin tingled, almost as if it were waking up, reacting to the layers of foundation, blush, and eyeliner that Mia applied with meticulous care. Each stroke of the brush felt like it was erasing part of who I was, replacing it with something unfamiliar. But as I watched the subtle transformation take place in the mirror, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of curiosity. This wasn't me. But was it? Was this who I could become? The wig was next. Mia carefully placed it on my head, adjusting the strands until it framed my face perfectly. The weight of the hair settled against my scalp, a soft, silky reminder that this wasn't just makeup. It was a new identity taking shape, one I was being forced into, but somehow it felt oddly right. My fingers brushed through the hair instinctively, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of someone I almost recognized. I stood there, frozen, watching as Mia worked her magic, her hands a blur as she helped me slip into the clothes she had chosen. The fabric felt different against my skin, softer, more delicate, like it was meant to mold itself to my body rather than just hang loosely. The tightness of the dress hugged me in ways I wasn't used to, making me feel more vulnerable, exposed. Noah watched from the corner of the room, his eyes scanning me with a mixture of admiration and something else I couldn't quite place. I wanted to ask him what he saw, but the words felt stuck in my throat. Did he see the same person I had always been, or was I already slipping away from myself? The most difficult part came when Mia handed me the heels. I had never worn them before, not even once. My legs trembled as I slipped my feet into them, the thin heels making me stand taller, straighter. The moment I stood, I felt a shift in my body, my posture, the way I held myself. It was like I was stepping into someone else's skin.
Good.
You look incredible, Mia said, her voice filled with approval. But I didn't feel incredible. I felt a storm of emotions crashing through me, anxiety, fear, curiosity, and a strange excitement I wasn't ready to acknowledge. My reflection stared back at me with wide eyes, a face I barely recognized but also couldn't deny. The more I looked, the more something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about looks. It wasn't just about the makeup or the clothes. It was about who I was becoming. But deep down, I still couldn't shake the fear that I was losing myself in all of this, that somehow, this transformation would change me in ways I couldn't anticipate. As I stepped into the dimly lit club, my heart pounded so loudly I thought everyone could hear it. The music thudded in my chest, making the whole world feel like it was vibrating, a chaotic blend of bass and excitement. I could feel the weight of every eye on me, even though most of them didn't even know I was supposed to be here. I didn't even know if I was supposed to be here. Mia had insisted on this test. A challenge. A way for me to fully embrace the change, to see how far I could push this new version of myself. She was already talking to some people, her voice carrying over the crowd, but I was left standing there, alone, uncertain. I caught Noah's gaze across the room. He was leaning against the bar, a drink in hand, his eyes trained on me. I couldn't read his expression, but something in the way he looked made my pulse race even faster. Was this all a mistake? "Hey, you okay?" A voice broke through my thoughts. It was Mia, now standing beside me, a hand on my shoulder, her presence almost motherly. She looked at me with those eyes, kind, but assessing. "You're doing great. Just breathe. Feel it." I wanted to laugh, but the sound caught in my throat. Feel it? Feel what? Feel like I was standing on the edge of some precipice, staring down into the unknown? It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup or the new identity. It was about what came next. The people around me, their glances, their whispers, the way their eyes scanned me up and down like I was a mystery waiting to be solved. I didn't feel like a mystery. I felt like a lie. Noah walked over then, his footsteps slow, deliberate. As he reached me, he looked me over once again, his expression unreadable. For a long, agonizing moment, there was nothing but the pounding of the music and the whispers of the crowd. Finally, he spoke. "I know this isn't easy," he said, his voice low enough for only me to hear. "But you can't keep hiding forever. Not from them. Not from yourself." His words hit me harder than any punch. It was like he was tearing apart the walls I'd built around myself, exposing the raw vulnerability I had tried so desperately to hide. I wasn't sure if I was ready for this, but at that moment, I realized something. I didn't have a choice anymore. This wasn't just about fitting in, this was about finding out who I was meant to be. No matter how scared I was, I couldn't keep running. I straightened my back, took a deep breath, and nodded at Noah. "Let's do this." And just like that, everything shifted. The world, the noise, the uncertainty. All of it seemed to fall away, leaving only the path forward. The path I had no choice but to walk. Days passed since that night, and I found myself looking at everything with new eyes. The transformation wasn't just physical, though it was hard to ignore the way my reflection in the mirror had changed. It was deeper than that. It was how I felt about myself, how I saw the world around me. The fear I'd once held so tightly to now seemed more like a distant memory, fading with each step I took in this new life. It wasn't easy. There were moments where I questioned everything. Who I was, who I wanted to be, if this was even real. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered Noah's words, the weight of them settling deep within me. You can't keep hiding forever. I had hidden from myself for so long, afraid of the unknown, afraid of the consequences of embracing who I was. But now, there was a clarity in my mind that I'd never experienced before. I wasn't just living for the approval of others anymore. I was living for myself. And somehow, that felt like the most liberating thing of all. As for Mia, she remained my anchor. She understood the struggle better than anyone. Together, we built something stronger than I'd ever imagined, a support system, a friendship, and a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly be myself. I still had a long road ahead of me. There would be more challenges, more doubts. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid to face them. And who knows? Maybe this was only the beginning of something much bigger. One thing was certain. I wasn't going to hide anymore. Not from myself, and not from the world. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.